Hi, and welcome to another edition of Seniors Today. I'm your host, Tom Bartee, and our guest today is Mr. Patrick Stasio. Did I pronounce that right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Who I have a lot of respect for Mr. Stasio, who is currently working in the area of homelessness with Solano County. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So I probably didn't quite identify your current position exactly. Can you clarify that for me?
I'm a health assistant with Solano County, and we run the health care for the homeless program throughout Solano County.
All right. That's way better than I could have done. So that means that you're involved in just about every aspect of what the county does in supporting homeless people. And that would mean that you're also involved in the in-place count that's done on an annual basis?
Yes, the what they call the point-in-time count.
Point-in-time count.
Mm-hmm.
So that's done every year to try to get, and I know it's not exact, but try to get an estimate of what our homeless population is countywide. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's a thumbprint.
And do they do it mainly in the main cities, the main 7 cities in Solano County?
They do it in all the cities of Solano County.
And do you have any recollection of any of the statistics for countywide and city by city?
I really don't. We do, we do have those, but off the top of my head, all we can say is that this year's count showed an increase in the homeless.
And I think in Vallejo the figure ranges from 4 to 550, depending on the year and the count. And so if Vallejo is the largest city in Solano County,
yes,
you can probably take 300 times 7 or 250 times 7 and maybe figure that would be the countywide count.
It would, but you're going to run into the next largest count would be Fairfield. Vallejo, or not Vallejo, I'm sorry, Vacaville has a very low count. Even though it's a good sized community, its homelessness is a lot lower than what Fairfield or Vallejo would be. Then you get out into Rio Vista and Dixon, and they're about the same as Vacaville.
Oh, okay. So percentage-wise, they're higher, but the actual raw numbers are probably about the same.
Correct.
So what is the number one healthcare shortage or healthcare need for the homeless as you run into it?
Well, it varies on the seasons, but throughout the year, probably one of the biggest problems with the homeless is diabetes. There's a lot of and it's because of their health, their way they're living, the diet, what they're doing, and so it's very high. Diabetes with the homeless is very high. During the winter time, as you would well expect, upper respiratory infections become a problem. And also mostly throughout the spring and the summer, as they have a lot of problems with bacterial infections from scratches, cuts, and sleeping on the ground in the dirt is a big problem. And we have a lot of mental health issues also, and I would say that mental health is probably, when you get down to what's wrong, substance abuse or mental health, and mental health is probably going to outrun the substance abuse.
So I've been hearing more and more of that, and people trying to highlight the fact that part of the solution rather than just throwing money at the homelessness issue, is to try to provide more support in terms of mental health and counseling and things related to helping people with drug abuse and those kinds of things. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, it's they're throwing money out there and they're not getting, I don't know, the bang for the buck, you might say, but things are improving. There's a lot of programs coming up that it takes time, and they probably won't be up for the next year, maybe 2 years. More housing for the homeless, better ways of avenues of getting care. So it's getting there. It just takes time.
Well, I know that the state of California has allocated a pretty significant sum of money this year for counties for homeless programs.
Yes, and it's, I mean, it is a significant amount, and it is spread not just in one place. It's spread throughout the county. Every city in the county is getting a big chunk of that.
And we sit on the Tripartite Advisory Board for the distribution of federal community block grant funds.
Yes.
And if I remember correctly, in years past, we've had somewhere around $300,000 a year to distribute to all the various
Throughout
agencies.
the county, all the cities.
Yeah, and I think this year it's close to $4 million or something like that.
Yeah, it's gotten up there substantially, and I think that's a lot to do with some of the stuff that's been going on in the state legislature and the governor's office, and they're really recognizing that, hey, we have a problem, and we've got to take care of it.
Yeah.
And so they're coming out with more funding.
Well, I know in Vallejo, the county has a joint venture with the city to create some, not a shelter for homelessness, but transitional housing.
Right.
So that people that have the wherewithal will have a pathway out of homelessness and into an employable situation.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm anxious for that to come online because I've been following it and kind of associated with it through some of the work that I do with the community. From what I understand, it's going to be like 250 beds or 250 rooms. But what's nice about it is that the folks now, if they go into a homeless shelter, they're only going to allow their 90 days, 60 days, and then they have to leave. But with this program, it's going to be, like you said, transitional. They will go to the homeless shelter, and then they will transition into this home where they'll be able to start taking care of themselves and paying their bills and getting some education or re-education. So I think it's going to be a marvelous thing.
Yeah, I over the years, I've run across many homeless people that I try to direct to a facility like the Christian Help Center, or another one is Kaminar, or Mission Solano.
Well, it's no longer Mission Solano. They've changed the name, and now it's Shelter Solano.
Shelter Solano.
Shelter Solano.
And it seems like those facilities are good for some people, but the rules they have about no drugs and no smoking and the curfew and things like that, half the people I recommend to go there say they don't want to go. And so it's good that there's other options that are coming up.
And they're getting more and more away from being 100% total drug-free because of what you're saying. The powers to be are finding out that is not going to work. And so they're relaxing those rules a little bit. Just the thing is, if you're going to use, don't use in our facility. So if you want to go out in the middle of the street and use up a drug, that's up to you. But once you use it, don't come back in until you're sober.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're getting a little bit more lenient along those lines.
Well, let's hope that we can continue to make headway against this issue, because it's, as you pointed out, it's getting bigger instead of smaller.
Yeah, it's getting better or bigger, but it's things are, I got faith. Things are going to get better. And I work with these people every day, and a lot of the stigmas that go with them are unnecessary. They're nice people. They're good people. They just got dealt a bad hand.
Mm-hmm.
If you sit down and talk to them like you and I are doing now, and holding a conversation, a real conversation, they're attentive, and they're willing to listen, and they have input too.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of educated people out there that are in that situation, and we hope they turn around.
From what I've seen, there's no real formula for who and why someone is homeless. That you could have teenagers, you can have, people up to in their 60s,
Sure.
Men, women, children. So it could be any aspect of our population.
Right. Nobody can hide from it. It's, we don't know why. Some people say, well, they lost their jobs, they started drinking, or they did this, took this substance and got hooked on it, or whatever. And that's not always the case. There's other things, factors in life that will make a big difference. And there's, I like to use a sample or example when I'm talking to some of the folks that, here's John Jones lost his job. He was 40 years old, unemployable, nobody wanted to hire him. So because of not working, he lost his home. After he lost his home, then he lost his family. Next thing he knew, he would find himself out in the middle of a park someplace, cold, wet, and rainy. And here comes somebody up to him and says, here, take some of this, it'll warm you up. And so they give him a drug, some methamphetamine or whatever, and yeah, it warms him up and it makes him feel good. So the next night he's out there again shivering, and he gets some more. Next thing you know, he's hooked on it, he's homeless, and now nobody wants to have anything to do with him because he's a drug addict. And it didn't start that way. So some of these people, people think I'm crazy, but some of them I do admire.
Well, I would think that will be the case, just like any other segment of the population.
Sure. They're no different than anybody else living on the block.
You had mentioned some training that you've done throughout the county about applying Narcan.
Yeah.
Could you explain that a little bit?
Yes, it's a grant that the county got from the state to battle the overdose, opioid episodes that we have in the United States. It's an epidemic stage, and it's getting worse. And so we have come up with a solution, because we found out that most of these opioid overdoses are coming from prescription drugs, Oxycontin, oxycodone, heroin, what have you. They're methadone. But what's happening is people don't realize the effect. And they say, well, one did me good, I want to take two. Mm-hmm. And the next thing you know, they're going into an overdose because their body is not ready for it. Yeah. And the body cannot tolerate that drug. And especially now that we've got another epidemic going where they're adding fentanyl, which is as a synthetic. They're adding it to the heroin that they're selling on the street. And so now I just heard this morning there's Santa Clara County, there's 6 people that have died from this contaminated drug. But anyway, what we do is I go out to senior centers, I go out into the park and talk to the homeless, I go to senior communities, I go do classes at community college, where shelters, wherever there's a chance that there will be an opioid overdose. I train the people, tell them how to recognize the overdose symptoms and what to do for it. And we give them 2 doses of naloxone, or our name for it is Narcan, and it's injected in the nostril as a atomizer, and it's enough to bring the person around, and we can get them to a hospital where they can get proper treatment. And it's been working. We've given over about 500 doses since the program has been in effect this past year, and we're going to continue doing it.
So the Narcan neutralizes the effect of the overdose, but only temporarily, right?
Yes, the Narcan or naloxone is an antagonist to the opioid, and it stops the effect of the opioid. And what the drug is doing, not the opioid, is stopping the person from breathing. They're telling the brain shut down the breathing, and the Narcan is an antagonist that reverses that. It's not something that takes effect immediately. It takes maybe 3 to 5 minutes for it to take effect. But once it takes effect, it's only going to last from anywhere from 90 minutes to 3 hours. So you have a small window to get this person into a hospital or an emergency room where they can treat it with better drugs.
Yeah, I think I saw yesterday the company Purdue is declaring bankruptcy, and they claim that 47,000 people have died because of the opioid overdose.
You know, they're right. I saw that article, and I've been hearing about this. It's been a lawsuit. I think it was in Oklahoma that the lawsuit. It's a class suit. Yeah. That state of Oklahoma started, and I think California and some of the other states have jumped on it too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, 47,000. I really would be a conservative number.
Wow.
There's a lot of people that have died from overdose that nobody knew. Yeah. They didn't know, and nothing was said about how they died.
Wow.
So it's...
Will there be, I just got an announcement from Kaiser that they're opening their flu clinic on the 23rd of September. Will there be opportunities for the homeless people to get flu shots as well? Or are they kind of dependent on whatever other support might be out there?
Yeah, no. There will be flu shots. Some of them, the homeless that have Medi-Cal, they have that's their health insurance. Some of them are capitated to Kaiser, some are capitated to Sutter, and so forth. But they can use that to get their influenza shots. But we also, the county, when I say we, give free influenza shots to the homeless, the people near homeless, or just low income that can't afford them or don't have health insurance. We give them free flu shots.
Where do they go to get that?
They can go to any of the Solano County family clinics. We have one on Tuolumne Street in Vallejo, another one on Courage Drive in Fairfield, and then we have another one on East Monte Vista in Vacaville. Plus we have our mobile units, which we have one every Tuesday at the First Baptist Church, 2025 Sonoma Boulevard, and that's where we set up there on Tuesdays. And then we have a medical mobile unit out in Rio Vista at the senior center in Rio Vista. They can go to those places and get them. So their flu shots are readily available. They don't have to have insurance to get it. If they don't have it, I understand that Walgreens has a program where they're doing free influenza shots for people that don't have health insurance. So it's readily available.
Oh, you said Walgreens.
Walgreens Pharmacy.
Oh, okay. So if a homeless person wants help and they have access to a phone, can they call the county line, is it 211, to try to get direction as to where they can go?
If they have a phone, they can call 211, and that will give them a phone number to call or tell them where to go within the county to get whatever they're asking for. Or they can just walk into the county clinic, and the county clinics will tell them if it's a day, they'll give them a shot. But if they have a phone, they can call 411 and they'll hook you up with a county clinic.
Okay. At 211, right?
No, 211,
211.
but 411.
But 411 also?
It's also, that's with through the phone company.
Oh, okay.
For information.
Yeah.
And they'll hook you up.
Okay. So how long have you been doing this, helping the homeless?
Too long, I think.
Well, you don't have to tell me.
25 years. It'll be 25 years the 5th of February.
Wow. Has that all been in Solano County?
Yes. I started a program that the Solano County asked me to start this program for community health outreach services. And so we started that, and it was to work with each community. We had a team in Vallejo and one in Vacaville to work with the homeless. And it just took on a life of its own, and it just grew into what we have today, and we just kept adding and adding personnel. We have mental health clinicians working with us, a behavioral health specialist. We have now the medical. We have dental. The homeless people, if they need dental care, they can come to one of our clinics. We have one in Fairfield, and we have another clinic in Vacaville, and then we have a mobile dental clinic, and Medi-Cal will take care of their dental. And I can throw this in, veterans, as you know, veterans do not get dental care unless something happened to them while they were on active duty. But if they have Medi-Cal and they qualify for Medi-Cal, they can go to our dental clinics, and the clinics will provide their dental care for them. That's clear up to dentures.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So it's a real good thing.
Yeah. So we worked together on the committee that I described not too long ago, and one of the things that you had happened to mention to me one day when we're just shooting the breeze was that you grew up in the American Valley near Sierraville.
Yes, yes.
And one of the things you told me that just stuck with me was you said one of your jobs as a kid was driving a school bus, but the school bus happened to be in the wintertime. It was a sleigh.
Right.
So
yeah, we we had one schoolhouse in Sierraville that took care of all the ranchers and ranches and farms and everything else around us. And it only had 2 rooms. One room was from 1st grade to 6th grade. The other room was 7th grade to 8th grade. And then you graduated from there, you either had to move to Susanville or come down here, which I did, to go to high school. But in the wintertime, it really snows up there. So we had a great big, huge sleigh, and we would load hay on that sleigh, and we would take it out to our cattle, our dairy cattle, because we had beef and dairy, and but we would take it out to our dairy cattle and feed them, so because they couldn't get down to the grasses in the snow. So then my job, since I was in the 8th grade at the time and I was the oldest kid in school, was to take the sleigh that my uncle donated, and I'd go around after we fed the cattle. I would take that sleigh and have some hay left on it, and I would go around to the ranches and pick everybody up, and then we'd go down into Sierraville and we'd go to school. But being the oldest kid, I also had to make sure the kindling was set for the one stove we had in the school so they could keep the fire going, and chop the wood. And even when I got there, I would have to, we had a lean-to for the horse, or the horses. I'd have to rub them down and feed them and make them comfortable, and then I could go into school. So, yeah, it was kind of, it wasn't very comfortable being the oldest and the only.
Yeah.
But I had a good time.
Especially when it's 10 below 0 or something.
Yes, it gets a little nippy.
Well, I wanted to get to this a little bit sooner, but we've run out of time. So maybe you'd do me a favor and come back sometime to talk a little bit more about that part of your life.
I'd be more than happy to.
All right.
Just
Cool.
let me know.
All right. Well, what you do to help people is pretty phenomenal, and I really respect your contributions to the community in Solano County. So thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And it's a joy. I enjoy doing it. So it's a pleasure all the way around.
All right, great. Well, thank you for being on the show. And as I said, maybe we can do this again sometime.
I'll be glad to do it. You just tell me when.
All right, perfect. So that's all the time we have for today. Our show airs Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. on Comcast 27, AT&T U-verse 99, and streaming live video at vcat.tv. Come see us again next time.